Now, in case you're new here, I've been spending the last several months playing Monster Hunter GU, trying to master all the weapons after having primarily played Switch Axe and Charge Blade, and I've been making a lot of progress there. So I figured, how much of this progress is going to carry over to a new game like Monster Hunter Wilds? Turns out, more than I thought. Welcome back, hunters, to an early journal in my Monster Hunter Wilds journey for a pledge I haven't made yet, for a game I don't know what the pledge will be yet. But I got to play the beta, as most of you have over the past week, and Capcom really chose the absolute worst time to drop this beta for me because it was the 1 week of the year that I had the biggest project to work on outside of home. So I came back the night before the beta was taken offline. And I was so tired because I drove back home. I had to sleep only to wake up the next day sick. So my original goal was to play the beta with every single weapon, and I thought the beta was only going to be hunting one monster. So I was going to hunt the monster with all 14 weapons and kind of elaborate, see how they feel different from the weapons in GU. And because I was sick, I only got to do about 8 weapons. I didn't get around to all of them. I kind of ran out of energy. And in fact, as I'm recording this video, I'm still not healed. I'm still sick. I took some Advil. So I want to start off by just saying a lot of people I know got performance issues trying to play the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. I did not. I'm going to put my specs on the computer I played down below. They're not like top of the line or anything, but mine ran with no performance issues. I did run the settings on high when I wasn't streaming. When I was streaming, I was running on low and I was broadcasting at 60 frames per second. That was definitely more impactful to my CPU, as using my broadcast software was laggy, but the game ran fine. So let's get right into it, and I want to preface all the footage you see is going to be a little cringe, as things tend to be here, because I did not understand a major mechanic of Monster Hunter Wilds, which is Focus Strike. I mean, if you look at my past video where I played the demo at Gamescom, I share what I think it is. Turns out I was wrong. And even in this demo, as I was trying to figure it out, I thought it was just a way to focus where your attack should go. I didn't realize you had a specific attack when you hit R1, or maybe it was RB, to actually inflict massive damage in the wound. I did learn later on the later weapons, but my earlier weapons, there's very little use of Focus Strike, which kind of hurts me in hindsight to look at. So the first weapon, I thought I was going to go in order, then I started jumping around, but I started with the Great Sword against a Doshaguna, which was the first time I fought this monster. Also Great Sword, remember I was playing in GU and Valor mode was my choice. So going here to a version of Great Sword where I can't just like dodge and avoid damage was a little bit harder, but the mobility of Great Sword feels to me a lot better than when I tried to use it like once in World, when I was like, oh, this is so sluggish. But I think just as a Monster Hunter player, I've learned to adapt to the speed of Monster Hunter. One thing I'm really happy that I got to learn with Great Sword on my own is that you can actually charge the sword, like, so you got your initial 3, like boop, 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 and then you hit, and then you charge again, boop, 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 hit, and then you charge again, boop, boop, and then you hit one more time. So there's this like 5-chain combo, which I think is called like the True Charge Slash, which is just amazing dopamine release when you get to land that hit. So overall, it felt pretty familiar to GU. I felt that a lot of what I was learning in GU did transfer very well into Wilds, but of course I have a lot of skill knowledge to gain on this weapon. Another thing is I played really bad in general. I'm gonna say it's because I was sick, I was handicapped, but even on the Doshaguna, it was the first time I played in a demo where there were multiple monsters on screen. There were 3, and I was trying to fight all 3 at the same time. I was just like, come at me, this is all what Monster Hunter Wilds is about, fighting herds. And then people are like, why are you not throwing poop at them? I was like, oh yes, that old trick. After that, I jumped over to Longsword, and because I had so little confidence in my Longsword abilities, I decided to go against Chotacabra, which is my favorite boy. He's the toad that likes to lick rocks. And if you've watched my Longsword progression in GU, I have struggled. I tried to play Longsword in 3U, and I had to abandon it. That's how much I hated it. But outside of that, I still struggle a lot with the weapons. So I was absolutely floored when I was grinning playing Longsword in Wilds because of how easy it was. So I was like, okay, here's my bread and butter combo, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then I just kept repeating that until I went into my big whoosh, and I charged my spear gauge like that. Like, I was like, oh, look at this, I'm like a pro, I know what I'm doing. So I got it to red, and then once you get to red, you unlock like a whole new combo set where you're just like slashing and everything's colorful and you're just destroying the monster. I'm just like, this can't be legal. This is way too smooth for a Monster Hunter game. I'm just like and like just slicing them up. It was absolute massacre. And then later on, someone reminded me about the helm splitter move, which I hadn't realized how to do. And then I think it's you hit the 2 face buttons, and then you like stab the monster, and then you run up, and then you come down, and then you see all the numbers just go. So I was trying briefly to figure out, I know that there's counters with the longsword. I didn't manage to pull them off. Again, there's a lot of things I don't know how to use on all these weapons, but to say that my GU experience has finally carried over to Wilds, I felt it the most probably in the longsword, because I could actually see myself playing a lot of longsword in Wilds. It felt really good. The third weapon I tried was the sword and shield, this time going up against a Balhara for the first time. This one, I was marked more by the fight than by the weapon. I felt sword and shield feels very similar outside of there's this like down thrust move where you like take your sword and you just go like and you just like dive it into the monster. I don't remember if that was what you do with the focus strike or it was a new move, but the sword and shield felt very familiar to World. I did play it a little bit in Endgame World, but Chotacabra left a bigger impression with me in how he like terraformed the sand dunes. And I was really caught off guard. I was caught off guard of how the hunter gets covered in sand, which I thought was a really nice attention to detail. How he could actually like flow under the sand and it looked like water. That was so cool. And then there's parts where he's actually shifting sand around, which is changing how the platform that you're fighting him on. I was just like, this is wild. Like, this is, show this to a Monster Hunter 4U player 10 years ago and be like, this is what Monster Hunter is going to be in 10 years. They would you would blow their mind. It's crazy. So yeah, Sword and Shield, I'd say not much has carried over. I think Sword and Shield has been pretty consistent. At least I don't see anything crazy about it that really made me go, ooh, I have to play Sword and Shield. It's just, it's a solid vanilla weapon. After this, I was really curious to try fighting Ray Dao since he had shown up, and I was like, well, I'm going to use the weapon I'm most comfortable with in this game, which is the Switch Axe. I had played the Switch Axe on the demo. I played the Switch Axe again during the opening tutorial mission. So I went up against Ray Dao. This was a great fight. Like, it lasted 20 minutes. Spoilers, I carded 3 times. I did not beat Ray Dao. I am dishonored. But it was a good fight. I got caught off guard. One, I blame a ledge. I got stuck against this like little ledge I was expecting to like climb over, but I got stuck and then Ray Dao just came in and boom, just zapped me out. And the other one, I got zapped by his like mega like railgun charge, which I think is a super or something. So to die to that for the first time, I think is appropriate as a new player to this game. There was some things to learn with the Ray Dao fight, which was, how do I get my invasion sensation back? So I was like pulling out my sword and like putting it in his face and trying to like go, and it wasn't sticking. It was just blowing up in his face. And people were like, you have to hold the button, which was huge game changer from World, where World and even Rise, you would hit the 2 face buttons, you shove your sword into the monster, and then you tap the button and it goes, and then it goes boom. And it felt appropriate because as the player, you're pumping the juice into the sword by pushing the button. Holding the button to pump the juice is not satisfying. I don't know why they got rid of it. So now you just go click and then it goes boom, and then you just hold it and it goes boom, and you're like, yeah, I did it. I don't know why they got rid of the tapping for invasion sensation. It's a bit of a disappointment on that one. The other things is I loved how Ray Dao like made noises. They sounded very unnatural. It's inspired by his like electromagnetic properties. It just sounded really cool. Another thing I did not like about the Ray Dao fight was his arena, like the arena that's covered in lightning basically. It was just too bright and weird. Like it looks cool, but fighting him in there just, I don't know, it was hard to make sense of like depth and what's going on. I preferred fighting him over in the dunes. Overall though, it was a good fight. I'm pretty sure if I fought him again, I could beat him. Like I was also learning the fight and I was being a little bit too aggressive also. But his moves are pretty readable compared to a lot of other monsters I've fought. And I kept getting hit by like his down tail swipe, and then I learned once it's charged, it does another zap, so you just got to get out of the way for that. And then most of the time he's just using his arms to go zoop, zoop, and then like if you're far, he'll go like zap, zap, zap. So he's pretty easy to read. I was just, I think, sick, stressed, a whole bunch of excuses put on the list, skill issue, whatever. So afterwards, of course, naturally after the Switch Axe is my second best, sometimes arguably my first best, depending on the game, is the Charge Blade. And I went up against a Chotacabra, and I'll tell you why. So the Charge Blade, I beat all of 4U with the Charge Blade. It's a weapon I love using in GU. Going to the Charge Blade, this is a weapon that I have a complicated relationship. Because in Old World, I love it, and I've dabbled with it a little bit in World just recently, and I love the crunchiness of it. but in Rise feels way too fast. Like, I am struggling to keep up with what this weapon demands of me. Because in the old world, you just charge your shield and off you go. Here, starting from World onward, you gotta charge your shield, you gotta charge your sword, you gotta charge your axe. And now, I don't know when they introduced this, but now you got pizza cutters, you got all these moves. People, like my chat was complaining about my playstyle, saying, why am I looking so noobish? And they're like, you should know how to play this weapon by now. And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand just how different this thing works compared to the old gen. Maybe they do and they just don't remember, I don't know. But yes, some elements were familiar, like how to charge the shield, but then I had to be reminded, how do I charge the sword? How do I charge the axe? I can't even tell you because I don't remember how to charge the axe. And then that unlocks all sorts of new moves, so I need a lot more hunts with the charge blade before I can do stuff. That said, holy damage, you can do so many cool things. The pizza cutter, I went up on Chadakara and just went like zzz, and it's just like numbers everywhere, and then you can do Saids and numbers everywhere, and you can do, I think, like horizontal Saids now. Like, this weapon has a lot for me to learn, and I really look forward to biting my teeth into it. Next up, light bowgun. After my recent discovery of how to play ranged weapons and have fun with them in GU, I was excited to see, will I love playing them in Wilds? And I took a light bowgun against Doshaguna, and whoa, it's even more fun in Wilds. I can't believe so. Yes, my training in GU is paying off, making me appreciate ranged weapons in the newer game. Right away, I didn't have to play with the controls of the camera. I could actually just nicely aim at the monster, which is a huge improvement over the old world guns. Crit range is more obvious. You're not guessing. You actually have a reticle that tells you, like, okay, you can shoot the monster now, which is much appreciated. They added, I don't know at what gen they added the shoot the floor, so you put a mine in the floor, which adds a whole other element of strategy where I'm like, okay, the monster's gonna come this way, let's put a mine here, let's put a mine here. Oh cool, he's like punching the sand, let's shoot the mine. I was doing that, so then you had the shots, the rapid fire, and again, my biggest mistake was the focus strike. I didn't know how to do the focus blast shots, but when I figured it out, which is you hit the RB button, and you can like shoot into the wound, and just like, it's like a big rocket that goes in there. Just beautiful dopamine. So again, I'm sure there's a lot to this weapon I still don't know, but the fact that I could have a full hunt, enjoy it, is huge progress from what I've been doing in GU. Super happy that a lot of what I was doing is paying off, because that's a big time investment, and I was really worried that because GU was so different from New World, I wouldn't appreciate the weapons in the New World, and I'd have to restart all over again. So 2 more weapons. The next one was a bow, and I only did this because the chat was telling me, at this point I was getting quite tired, but the chat told me, oh, the bow got a whole like change, you gotta try it. So I went up against Chadakabra because I know that my bow playstyles can take 20-30 minutes to kill a monster, and I was pleasantly surprised at how different the bow is. So the bow still had the bread and butter mechanics that I'm used to, which is like you get in there, you shoot, and then you hold for your power shots. And I was doing that. I was like, what are you guys talking about? The bow's the same thing. And then they're like, no, aim for the wounds and like stick the, I forget what they're called, but that's when I discovered the homing missiles, which I was just like, oh my god, I don't even have to be good at aiming. I just hold this button and then I can shoot 2-3 arrows into the wound. And then there's this other thing where it's like a sticky bow or a sticky shot that you shoot anywhere you want on the monster, and then your arrows hone in on that. And I'm like, and then after the honing in, you got this thing called the focus fire hailstorm, which is like you pull back and you just do an amazing shot, and then you can like hail like fire from the, not fire, but arrows from the sky. Again, I'm just blown away by how much stuff I can do with these weapons. I'm like, I'm definitely going to be playing Wilds with all the weapons. Like, I did not do GU Omni-hunter pledge to not carry that forward. So I'm going to be doing something that is multi-weapon faceted in Wilds. I just don't know what it is yet. I don't want to rush into it. It's going to be a game I'm going to take my time with. I don't want to be rushed. Wilds is just giving me a lot to chew into. And, you know, I was rushing through my past pledges, not rushing, but I always had more on the horizon. With Wilds, it's like, yeah, there's more on the horizon. There's other games I can play, but like this is my game. You know, Rise came out when I was just converting into a Monster Hunter fan. World and Iceborne were I was playing through that while Rise and Sunbreak were dropping, and then I got into the old world games. Like, there was so much stuff for me to ingest, but now this is like This is the Hey J game. This is the Wilds Monster Hunter. This is my generation of the new game that I get to enjoy from the reveal trailer all the way to launch. So I'm going to take my sweet time with it and do whatever. Maybe it's going to be unlock all the achievements. Maybe it's going to be hunt all the monsters with all the weapons. I don't know yet, but that's the flavor I'm going for. Hey everyone, it's Time Traveling Jay. I forgot to record this part for the journal, but I wanted to share this with you. Through my partnership with Capcom creators, I have a special opportunity to actually give back to the Monster Hunter community. And I want to get Monster Hunter Wilds in as many hands as possible because Monster Hunter changed my life and I want to help change other people's lives through this amazing franchise. So here's how it works. If you go to my store, nexus.gg/heyj, you can pre-order or order Monster Hunter Wilds, depending on when you're looking at this. If the game's already out, you can order it there. And it's the same price as if you would buy it on Steam. However, I get a cut of the sales thanks to the partnership with Capcom creators. And so for every 10 games that are purchased through the Nexus store, I'm going to give one game back to anyone in the community who has filled out my form to express interest in wanting the game. I'm going to be giving away the copy on your platform of choice, whether you want to play it on PC, on Xbox, on PlayStation 5. It is not a hard copy. It will be a digital copy, so keep that in mind. So if you are looking to buy the game on Steam, I highly recommend check out nexus.gg/heyj. You're going to be paying the same price while helping a good cause, which is getting more copies of Monster Hunter Wilds in people's hands. Thanks, and let's get back to the journal. The last weapon I tried is the Insect Glaive, which you may remember me ranking as my #1 weapon in my last journal of GU. And I am surprised to share that the weapon is not so good in Wilds to me. It does not feel as satisfying. So I play as Insect Glaive Aerial in GU, and I'm having a grand old time with it. Here, like, there's a lot more learning I need to do because it's just, I'm not enjoying it as much right now. I went up against a Balahara, and I can't get my aerial moves down. Like, I'm not covering as much ground because now, you know, you can still shoot yourself in the air and then you hit the button again, you can get like a burst of air to go somewhere else. That confuses me and I always go in a direction I don't want to go. The ground combos are not as satisfying as what they were in GU, or maybe I haven't figured out what it is. Instead of like ground combos, now I have to hold the right button on the face to charge my Insect Glaive, and then I unleash the charge into the monster with a big hit. And sure, I can do like this really like cool like shoo 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 where all this energy blasts up and it looks cool. I love that move. I've gotten good at like collecting the essence, which I love, by the way, that the game actually tells you this is where you collect white, this is where you collect red. Huge quality of life improvement. And my skill has transferred over from GU, but I really miss the jump to the monster, whack it around a bunch of times. It seems like there's more intention required with Insect Glaive now, where it's more about hit less but hit harder. And there's also, I think, a requirement of me being more comfortable in aerial using a different move style that I just haven't yet. Because I remember in Ryzen I played with it a little bit, and there was mechanics that was like you could stay in the air line, you could do a lot of damage from the air. And I forget how to do all that because it's been a while, but I couldn't do it in Wilds after one hunt. So there's a lot of learning to be done there, but it felt very different. Unfortunately, I really wish I could have had more time to play with like the lances so I could at least see what those are like, but I just got too sick and feverish, so I had to stop playing at that point. But another few thoughts on the demo. Again, I skipped a lot of everything I played at Gamescom, which was the whole story part. I skipped that this time. I didn't spend any time in character creation because I'm like, oh, forget about this. I don't want to focus on this. I just want to feel the weapons. And I didn't spend a lot of time with all the other aspects of the beta for you know, seeing how the mechanics of the game, going through the menus, because I just didn't have enough time, unfortunately. I only got about 3 to 4 hours of the game, and that's all I have so far. But I am already getting a sense that I'm going to enjoy grinding more in this game. I mean, the parts are coming out faster. I love that there are bonuses for hunting certain monsters out in the wild. Like, some monsters will come with bonus rewards if you fight them. Love that because it incentivizes you to go and fight things. I fought the same like 3 monsters over many times in this demo. Never felt tired about them. Always felt very fun because I was switching the weapon. And one other thing that I struggled with is when you mount the monster. In the old games, it was very obvious when it was time to brace and when it was time to attack. And in this game, I'm embarrassed to say, I never knew when to brace. Like, I know the screen goes dark and I'm like, is this where I brace? And then sometimes my stamina would go down, sometimes it wouldn't. So it's actually a step down, I think, from their previous game where it was a clear indicator of now's the time to brace versus now's the time to smack, like to chop the monster. I'm sure it's going to come as I play more, but that was another thing that stood out to me of like, what am I supposed to brace this thing? Like, I'm just not understanding the prompts that they wanted from me, the player. So really excited with how this game is shaping up. I love that they put out a beta. This means that they're going to catch so many issues that otherwise they wouldn't have known, and they would have launched the game with a lot of issues. So props to Capcom for putting out this beta. You can bet they're probably going to be fixing a lot of those issues over the next 4 months. And I got to hop back to GU, get my pledge finished so I can play Wilds at launch with all the rest of you and have a great time. So thanks again for watching. Let me know which weapons felt better or worse, how you enjoyed the beta and what you did with it. And I'll see you in the next journal. Until next time, keep it classy.